Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. My name is Chinmaya and I welcome you to this video in which I will demonstrate how we can take a black and white picture and show just one object in it in color. You might have seen such an image in ads, and today we will see how we can create this stunning effect in GIMP. Let me show this effect to you using an example. So let's first see what we are basically trying to do. What you're seeing on the screen is a sample picture, and this is full of color with a few boys playing football. So what we are wanting to do now is to convert this picture into a black and white picture, as you can see here, and then selectively color only one part of that picture. So as you can see, only one element is in color and everything else is in black and white. So it creates a stunning effect. Many times people wonder how this has been done. And if you can put one quote on top of this, you have a great Instagram post or a slide cover. So this is the goal of this video. We will try to see how we can have everything in black and white except a few elements in color. So we're going to do this inside GIMP, and we will use a technique that is called as masking. Before I actually demonstrate how we can do this inside GIMP, let's first go and have a look at what exactly is masking, the technique that we will be using to create this kind of an effect. So before we head over to GIMP, let's have a quick look at the concept of masking. Let's say we have an image here, and you can see that there are a few geometrical shapes in this image, each having a different color. So we have some squares in blue, triangle in green, and circles in red. Now what we're going to do is we'll make a copy of this layer. So we now have a copy of this layer, and we are going to convert this copy into a black and white image. This process is called as desaturation. So we now have a black and white image. All elements inside this particular image are now having different shades of gray. So these images are actually stacked one on top of each other. Currently, you are seeing this as two separate images because I want to illustrate this concept. But in reality, they are stacked one on top of each other, just like this. And this is what the stack basically looks like. So underneath the black and white layer, you have this colored layer. When you're looking at the black and white layer from the top, you cannot see the color layer because the black and white layer is completely covering the colored layer. But then these images are stacked one on top of each other. Now we want to selectively color one part of this particular image. So what we're going to do is we are going to add a mask. So a mask is a layer that permits you to draw, but then it comes with two kinds of inks. One is black and one is white. And these are magical inks. So if you were to dip your brush inside the black ink, and if you were to say, for example, we wanted to see this triangle in green color, everything else will be in gray or black, and we just want to have the triangle in green color, what we are going to do is we'll dip our brush in the black paint, and we are going to come here and just simply paint this triangle black. Now, the characteristic of this black paint is that any object on this image, when it is painted black, it immediately becomes transparent. And once it becomes transparent, the color from the feature underneath starts showing up. And that is how you can selectively colorize one particular part of the image. So say, for example, if I was to dip this brush in this black paint and come here and start painting this triangle with black color. So the moment I do this, this particular triangle becomes completely transparent, and the colored triangle from the layer beneath it starts showing up, and you can see this triangle. And all we have done is just simply made this particular part transparent. Everything else is masked. You cannot see what is underneath it except for this particular part. Conversely, if I take this brush and dip it inside white color, if I come here and start painting this triangle in white and fill this with white color, you will see that the triangle now is completely opaque. Whenever you paint something with white, it has the opposite effect of black, and it makes that particular object completely opaque. And we are now seeing this triangle in its original gray color. Now, once again, if we go and dip our brush inside black paint and start painting this area black and fill this with black, this area again becomes transparent completely, and it starts showing you the color of the layer underneath. So this is just like a mask on your face, and when you're having a mask on top of your face, all areas that are covered by the white mask, for example, are not showing the face except the eyes that are actually transparent as far as the mask is concerned, and your real eyes are actually showing through the holes of the mask. So this is the idea of masking. This is what masking is all about. You can selectively make things opaque and selectively make things transparent. And once you have a stacked layer of a black and white image on top of a colored image, by making certain objects transparent, painting it by black color, you can then have a few elements in vivid color and everything else in black and white. And this happens because of masking. So let's now head to GIMP and try to see how we can do this practically. It's very easy to do, and you can accomplish this in a few steps and create really stunning pictures for your Instagram posts, Facebook posts, book covers, or presentation slides. So let's start. I'm inside GIMP. Before I move forward, let me just tell you which version of GIMP I'm using. I'm using GIMP 2.10.34, which is the latest version of GIMP at the time of this recording. If you haven't downloaded GIMP, or if you are new to GIMP and want to install it, you can just simply visit the GIMP website. The website is gimp.org. And when you reach this website, you can click on the download button right here. You can just click on the orange button here to download the GIMP installer for Windows. If you're using any other operating system like Mac OS or Linux, you can click on these links and download and install GIMP. So we are inside GIMP and we will be working with two images. I have provided a link to these images in the description and you can download them and follow along. Let me pick up this particular image here, boy jumping, and I'm going to come here and drop it in my GIMP image window, then press convert to bring this image inside. So this is the layer stack that I was mentioning earlier when I was talking about masking. So the first thing we are going to do is to make a copy of this layer. So I'm going to right click on this layer and click on duplicate layer. The moment I do that, I now have a copy of this image, and everything that we are going to do, we will be doing on the copy of this particular image. And as you can see, these layers are sitting one on top of each other. You can switch them on or off at any time. And the layer below this particular layer will then become visible. Currently, because they are the same, nothing apparently seems to be happening on the screen. But I will show this to you in a short while from now. So now that we have a copy, we are going to convert this copy into a black and white image. And the way we do this is we'll select this image, just click on this layer, and then come to colors, and then just simply go down and choose desaturate and desaturate once again. So that is colors, desaturate, and desaturate. When you click on this, your image immediately converts into a black and white image. This is the desaturated image. So there are a few options here that you can choose to decide what kind of a black and white image you want. So by default, it is luminance. I can click on this drop down and come and choose Luma. So this is going to present a different kind of a black and white image. And there's also lightness. And then one option is average HSI. So these are all presets kind of, which you can use to decide what kind of black and white image you would like to have. Now, before I press OK, I would like to take a second and tell you one other way in which you can have more control on the kind of black and white image that you are creating here. So I'm going to cancel this for a second, then I'm going to come back again here and then go ahead and press OK. So you can come to colors, you can go to desaturate, and instead of choosing desaturate, you can also choose mono mixer. So when you do this, you have 3 sliders here, and you can alter these sliders from left to right to ensure the kind of shades that you want in this particular image. So you can control what kind of black and white image you want very precisely using the mono mixer. Once you are done, you can just come here and click on OK. For this exercise, I'm just going to go back again, click on desaturate and desaturate. These are exactly the same things. It's up to you what you want to use. I'm going to come here and click on mode and click on Luma. This is the one that I want, and just go ahead and click on OK. So I now have my black and white image. And you can see here that this black and white image is sitting on top of the colored version of this image. So if I click on this eye icon right here, you will see that the image right below this layer becomes visible. That is the full color image. If I click on this eye icon again, you will see that the top layer, which is now the black and white layer, that layer is now visible. So this is how layers are stacked one on top of each other. And now what we want to do is we will add a mask to this top layer, which will give us those two magical bottles of ink, black and white ink. And we can then just simply rub off some part of this image such that the colors underneath this particular layer become visible. Everything else will then remain in black except for the portions that we will make transparent using black ink. So what I'm going to do now is to add a mask on this, which will permit us to draw on top of this particular layer. So I will right click on this copy layer, the one that we have turned into a black and white image, and then just come here and click on add layer mask. This is also available from this icon, which is just next to this cross icon, this icon right here. Exact same thing. So I'm going to come here and click on add layer mask. And you have quite a few options here. The default is white with full opacity. So I'm going to go ahead and click on add. And what this does is it will give you two bottles of ink, black and white. And by default, everything is opaque. And whenever you paint anything with black ink, it will become transparent. If you choose this option, you will have the reverse situation. So anything that you want to make opaque, you will have to paint with black. And anything that you want to make transparent, you will have to paint with white. I'm going to go ahead with the first option, the default option, white full opacity. Just go ahead and click on add. So this mask layer, as you can see, the white rectangle right here is now available with the black and white image. So now we just want to color this particular kid here and leave everything in black and white. So we will zoom into this particular kid as much as we can. And now before we move forward, we have to make sure that the foreground swatch, that is this rectangle here, this is foreground and this is background. So the foreground is the one that the paintbrush picks up by default. So we want to make sure that this is black. So I'm going to come and click on this particular icon here at the bottom. And this will ensure that the foreground is black and the background is white. So these are the two bottles of ink that we will be using. Just click on this little button here to set the foreground to black and the background to white. Now, once we have this done, we can pick up a brush. So I'm going to come here and click on brush. And what I have done here is that in the brush box, I have typed in basic to sort out only the simple brushes that come with GIMP by default. So just come here and click on the one that is the dark dot here. It is called as hardness 100, 51, 51. When you click on it, this line should become available. I will be using this brush, but you can use some other brush that you want. So let's just go and pick up this brush, hardness 100, 51, 51. And you will see that the size of this brush is a big circle. So we need to come here and bring it to a size that is reasonable. And just come here. So this circle is now too big. Let us bring it down to like, so this seems to be okay, as you can see. So the idea here is that if we have a very big brush, we will spill out and color something that we don't want to color. So our foreground color is black. Our brush size is appropriate. And now what we need to do is just simply press the left mouse button and keep stroking. So as we keep stroking with the black color, wherever we stroke becomes transparent and the color from underneath starts showing. So let me just try this out. And I think the best strategy to color is to depress your left mouse button, make a stroke, release. Stroke, release, stroke, release. And the reason why I'm doing this is that if you make some mistake, you can press Ctrl Z and go back. But if you keep your mouse button depressed and keep stroking for a long time, say for example, my left mouse button is currently depressed and I'm stroking for a long time without releasing it. If suppose I make a mistake and I press Ctrl Z, I lose a lot of my work. So the good strategy here is press, stroke, release, press, stroke, release. Don't go too much towards the edges, but try to rub as much as you can. And we are using this black ink, and wherever we are moving our brush, that area becomes transparent and the color from this lower layer starts showing through. So I'm going to go ahead and just simply keep moving. I'm not going to go too much towards the edge. The idea is to do all the major parts as quickly as possible. And these things actually require a little time. So press stroke, and release, such that if you make a mistake, and what is the mistake? You might venture a little bit left, so you are exposing a little bit of this green grass. So you can just press Ctrl Z and then start working again. That part will disappear and you can start working once again. So try to do as much as you can with this, but only on portions that are like really easily accessible with a thick brush. Don't venture out into areas that are thinner than the size of this particular brush. So I think I've done enough with this brush. So I'm now going to go and reduce the size of this brush to about 15. So a smaller brush. And I can now start venturing into slightly narrower areas like these hands. I am not going to do fingers with this brush. So let me just keep moving and press, stroke, release, press, stroke, release. All these areas that I was not able to reach before, I now have a smaller brush, smaller size brush, and I can try to reach these areas as far as I can. And I'm still not going to venture out too much onto the edge. Even if you make a mistake, that's not a problem. We'll be able to correct it without much problem. And I've made a little mistake just to show you. As you can see, a little bit of this green grass I have included here. So just keep working carefully. If you have lots of time, you can do this very, very perfectly. So I'm just using this brush size of 13. You can decide for yourself what brush works best for you. Just come here and keep working and try to do as much as you can with this size of the brush. So I'm still not trying to venture out towards the edges and just trying to work as much as possible with this 13 sized brush. It is too big for the fingers. So what I'll now do is I will come here and reduce the size of this brush to about 3. And then just simply try to go and finish off making some other areas transparent. It's quite all right if you make some mistake and if you are not able to do something precisely, we can correct that quite easily. And let me just zoom in a little bit on the finger part. And I'm now trying to do, maybe I think I will reduce this to about 2 and then just try to make sure that I'm working on the finger part right here. And making these transparent as I rub on them. Likewise here. This is at an incredibly high level of zoom. So even if you make a few mistakes, it will not be visible when you have this image at normal zoom levels, that is 100%. But nevertheless, we can keep trying and making sure that this is working out nicely. Let me just keep zooming in here and finish this last finger. That's it. And this little part here. You will notice that we have, in the process of doing this, revealed some of the grass. So we can correct this kind of a problem quite easily by reversing the foreground paint and choosing the white paint now, and maybe increase the size of this brush by a little bit, maybe 3, and then just simply rub this off. So any areas that you did not want to get revealed, you can just simply move your brush on those areas and make them opaque once again, because when we are painting with the white paint, we will be making those areas opaque. So here is the mistake that I deliberately committed, and I'm using this white paint in the foreground, and I'm just rubbing this off such that anything that I might have revealed accidentally I can then make sure that I'm just moving very carefully my mouse on top of that area and making it black and white again. So you will see that this little part has not been done. So once again, use this little icon to switch colors and come here. And now I'm painting with black. So I'm now making these areas transparent. When I paint with white, I make them opaque. So use white for correction, and you can use the black paint for making the areas transparent. So these are some of the areas that I might have missed. So I'm using a finer brush that is of the size 3. If I want to be very precise, I can even come down to 1. And this is now working on a single pixel. And I can make sure that I'm only touching the areas that I want to touch here. And say, for example, this is a mistake I have done. So I'm switching the colors and then just coming here and making sure that I rub off those single pixels. So this is going to take a little time, but once you are done, you will find that I'm switching colors once again and making sure that I color this part and switching them once again to remove any green grass that I have accidentally brought out. So just keep working on it and improving it. So in this particular case, a little bit of green grass has been revealed here. So my foreground color is white, and therefore anything that I work on will then be just simply made opaque. So I'm trying to remove all these areas from here that I accidentally revealed, and press release, and I can now have a really good picture. This part of the foot I haven't done yet, so let me switch again and have a brush size of 3. So I hope I'm able to convey this idea. You can change your brush sizes and you can alternate between white paint and black paint to either remove errors or make areas transparent. And just make sure that you have everything that you are looking for perfectly streamlined just the way you want it. So this is how you can just keep moving. A little bit of green has been exposed, so I'm switching this and making the foreground color is white, and then just simply going ahead and removing those greens from here. So once we are done, and this is looking quite okay, I might have missed out a few points, but then you can work on this. So once we are happy, we can come to File and go to Export As and give this some name. Let me just say Selective Coloration or SC, Boy Jumping SC. And I'm going to come here and click on Export and then hit Export once again. So my image is now saved. As you can see, when I open this folder, this image is now here. So we can click on these to see them in a photo viewer. So this was our original image. And this is our created image, where everything else is in black and white except for one element. And it looks quite nice and appealing, and it can be used in many different applications. If you want to work on this image again, you can come to File and save this image as an XCF file, which is the GIMP's native format file. And what this file permits you to do is to just simply open this whole composition back again in GIMP and start working on it once again from the point where you left it. So this is one important thing to do. You can always save this as save and then save it as a XCF file. Let us now take another example. It's not always necessary to keep paint brushing. We can actually just demarcate the boundary of an object and then fill it with black color. And many times that's a very quicker method. In this particular case, this image was a little complicated because there's grass between fingers and there is grass between the hand and the body. So we could not neatly demarcate the boundary of this particular figure. But if the figure was solid and was one object, we can use another method to just simply demarcate the boundary of that particular figure and use the bucket paint tool to fill the entire boundary with black color and have the same effect in that particular image. Now, there can be some situations where the task of filling up the object of interest would be much easier. Let's see another example quickly. So I'm just catching all of this image, red house. I've given the link of this image in the description so you can download it and follow along. Just grab it and drop it inside GIMP. So this is our image. Let me just press Ctrl Shift J. The process is exactly identical as the previous example, except for the fact that because this is one single object, it is much more easier to delineate. Instead of using a brush and filling it up stroke by stroke, we can isolate it much quicker. So let's try to do that. So this is our image. We've just brought it inside. And the first thing we will do is exactly the same as what we had done before. Right click and make a copy. So just come here and duplicate the layer. So we now have a copy. We are now going to just go ahead and convert this into a black and white picture. So colors, and go to desaturate and desaturate once again, just like we have done before. I'm not going to change any default settings here. So just click on OK. And we now have a black and white picture and the original copy in color, as you can see, one on top of each other. Now we're going to add a mask layer to the black and white picture, just like we did before. So right click, add mask layer. And we are going to go ahead with the first option, white full opacity. So just go ahead and click on add. These are all the things that we had done previously. Now what we are wanting to do here is that we want to isolate this house and just show this house in color and everything else in black and white. As the house is one single object, what we can do is we can isolate this by defining its boundary and then use the bucket tool to fill it with black color, thereby making it transparent and letting the color shine through from the lower layer. So I'm going to switch off the upper layer, the black and white layer, because it is easier to work with the colored image to delineate the boundary of this house. So next I'm going to come here and right click on this free select tool and choose scissor select. And we are going to just zoom in, and you should now see a scissor in the mouse crosshairs. And we will just simply go ahead and delineate the boundary of this house by just clicking on the edge and then just moving along the edges. So you don't need to be very precise at this time to identify the boundary. And this tool has some intelligence built into it. So it tries to hug to the boundary or stick to the boundary. So we are just going and quickly doing this. You can take some more time to do this and just keep sticking to the edge. Just come here. We are going to avoid the bush and keep working. If there are any imperfections, we can correct them by using white paint. So I'm just doing this really quickly and then come here, just keep working towards the edge, come to the base of the house, and then just keep moving and come here, click, 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 keep moving forward, just following the edge and just come to the end and then move up in a straight line and then to the edge of the house, to the other edge, up, up, and then just simply go ahead, up, and up here, keep moving and clicking. So you have to keep identifying the outer boundary of this entire house and keep digitizing. So when you come to the last point, just click on the last point to complete this entire digitization. Now, if you find something out of the place, as for example, I wanted this line to be at the edge, just click on this line, you will have a new point and you can move it towards the edge. And just click one more time and move it towards the edge. One more time, move it towards the edge. So make your corrections wherever you feel you need to improve. Now, I think this is quite okay as far as I'm concerned. You can take your time to do this. Once you are done, just press enter. So when you do this, you will now see a moving ants border around the house, as you can see here. Now we'll switch back our black and white image once again. And as our object of interest is now defined by a border, all we need to do is to make sure that the foreground color is black And instead of using the brush to stroke and reveal the color as we did in the last example, this time around we are going to come here and click on the bucket tool and just come anywhere inside this boundary and click, and boom, there you have it. You have the entire house right in front of you. And if you could just go and say Control-Shift-J, this is the picture. Everything in this picture is masked by white paint. And the only thing that is actually showing in color is this house, which has been painted in black, thereby making it transparent. And that's been done on the masked layer. You can see this masked layer here. You can see this white layer. And there's a little bit of black, which is what we have painted on this house. You can actually see this here. But if you want to really see this enlarged, just right click on this layer and come and check this show layer mask. So you will see that when we fill this boundary that we had delineated with black paint, this is the area that has been colored in black, thereby making it transparent. Everything else on this mask is white, which makes it opaque. And therefore, only the house is being seen in color because of the image below. So let's switch the mask off now. Right click and uncheck Show Layer Mask. We are back again to our picture. We can also see this mask very clearly if we switch the bottom layer off. So if I come here and click on the eye on the original image here, you will see this polygon that we had digitized around the house filled with the transparent marker right here. And because this layer is off, there's no color coming through. So if we just switch this on, you can see the house from the image below. And that's how the masking layer is actually working and showing color. So we can also make this moving ants border disappear. Just click on select and then click on none. So that border is now gone. We are done with this image and we can save it now. We can come to file and export as, and we can just come here and give it a different name, Red House SC, and export, and hit export once again. So this file has been saved. As we head back to our folder, you will see that this file is visible here. And we can click on it to see what this picture looks like in a viewer. And this is what it was before. This is what we have created. And if we can click both of them, you can see them side by side. In the picture on the left, you have the house in color and everything else is in black and white. And this is, of course, the original picture. So when you have an object which you can delineate as a single object, there's nothing in between. You can just simply use the scissor select tool, draw a boundary around it, and then just fill it with the bucket tool, making sure that the foreground color is black. So this is how you can do selective colorization in GIMP. Using the selective coloration technique demonstrated in this video, you can unleash your creativity and produce some great pictures for your Instagram posts, blogs, websites, and presentations. I hope this video was useful. I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Many thanks for watching.